Hello and welcome to Bharat Shakti. I am Nitin Gokhale. With me today in the studio is RAdm Monty Khanna, currently member of the National Security Advisory Board, but also a thinker, a strategic thinker who was also the Commandant of the Naval War College earlier. Thank you, Monty, for your time.
Thanks, Nitin. Thanks for inviting me. Delighted to be here.
So, I wanted to talk to you about the importance and the development, or say the progress of Andaman and Nicobar Command, India's first tri-service command, which is actually an operational command in that sense. So, and you were recently there for a seminar which I couldn't attend. So, in India's Look East policy and now, of course, Act East, which is now translated into Act East, how do you see the ANC's role in this entire overall national policy?
So, I mean, if you look at the ANC is largely a security construct. Yeah, and therefore, I would assume that we're talking more on the security side of the house. To have a set of islands that stretches across roughly around 420 odd miles from north to south, if you're taking right from East Island to the north till Indira Point in Campbell Bay to the south, that's an enormous advantage that you have. That advantage comes in many sort of forms. Firstly, it extends the reach of your assets in a sense. Just to give you an example, you're talking about distances. If you're taking the distance from Vizag to Port Blair, that's roughly 700 nautical miles.
Right.
If you're talking from Vizag to Campbell Bay in the Nicobar group, that's 900 nautical miles. If you were to deploy, ships, etc., have got a substantial reach of their own. But let's talk about maybe submarines, or let's talk about aircraft. If you talk about a submarine, for example, 900 nautical miles translates, if you want to deploy a submarine in any of the straits, be it off Malacca Strait or Sunda or Lombok or Bebetar, if you save this distance of 900 into 2, 1800 nautical miles, you're talking about 12 to 15 days of passage.
Which is a huge advantage.
So that 12 to 15 days you get on station now, right. So it's a tremendous multiplier that it gives you. Similarly for aircraft, and particularly the slower moving aircraft, if you take like the Sea Guardian, that is the MQ-9B, etc. If you deploy them from airstrips over there, it's you're talking about again an advantage of these aircraft. I mean that their speeds are to the tune of around 400 kilometers or 200 nautical miles per.
Sure.
So that 4 hours extra that you get is 4 hours extra on station.
That's right. Yeah.
So in that sense, it increases your reach for surveillance. It increases your reach for strike. And then that's the military side of the house.
Sure.
Then it comes with their own exclusive economic zone and things like that, and all the advantages that you get in terms of fisheries, oil exploration, marine resources.
Sure.
So these are tremendous advantages that have to be exploited to their fullest. And I would say we've been a little slow in this.
Exactly.
But certainly the ANC was a step ahead. My only concern is that translation to the rest of the country should have happened some time back. But it has taken its own time.
In fact, this is the always a debate or discussion about how they've not been given enough assets by all the three services really, and especially probably Navy and the Air Force. Army may not be so keen on doing something. But even otherwise, like you said about EEZ, and now that they're coming up with that Galathea Bay project is what they're speaking about, that transshipment hub. As it is, I think it gives an advantage in terms of the Act East policy overall, in terms of trade, tourism. How do you see that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at the Andamans, they're stunning, in their beauty. And particularly, of course, the Andaman group is there, but the Nicobar is a step ahead. I mean, I've traveled around a fair bit. This has the advantages of coral, along with mountains, along with dense forests. This sort of a combination is rare,
very rare
to have in any other place. So there is just an enormous amount of tourism potential which is grossly underutilized right now. I mean, that's for a variety of reasons.
Sure.
Firstly, I think while efforts have been made, but we've been slightly restrictive in opening up these islands. I think that sort of thinking is changing right now.
Correct.
It was the same thing in the northern borders sector where we were right restrictive in allowing people to go there, but I think that thinking is changing with time.
Yes.
Connectivity was an issue.
Right.
The laying of the optic fiber cables has changed life on the islands. You used to have speeds of, I think, around roughly 3 Mbps. Now you have 200 Mbps.
That's
You've
right.
connected up the entire island.
Absolutely.
So that, I mean, for an average person who's coming there, the first thing you want to make sure is that you're connected and you
Yeah,
can talk.
absolutely.
So other projects in terms of connectivity, in terms of expansion of airfields that you're having, etc. There. So all these apart from a military requirements,
Right.
but certainly from a commercial requirement, and then getting people to invest into hospitality, that's another thing. And then connectivity for foreign airlines to, for international flights to operate out of the islands. So I think there was some connectivity that was established to KL
Yes.
that has stopped for some
Correct.
time, but
Yes.
they're hoping it will restart.
It'll restart,
and that's the first step. But there is just an enormous amount that has to be done over there, and the scope is just mind-boggling. if you
I
ask
was
me.
speaking to somebody from Indonesia the other day. He was here, and they were looking at Andamans also as one of the things that they can co-develop or at least use it as a facility, both for tourism as well as other stuff.
I would say in other stuff, especially when you look at Indonesia, you look at Thailand, Malaysia, even for trade, you take constructing an island is always expensive.
Sure.
But if you have to get your construction material, your cement, your aggregate, etc., instead of it coming all the way from 700 nautical miles away, Aceh is just around if you're from the Nicobar group, really it is around 100 miles there. That's all.
Right. Yeah.
So if you use have this two-way trade with them, it benefits both countries.
Exactly.
So in that sense, there are opportunities over there for this entire concept of short sea shipping as well. So if you have this connectivity with Indonesia, with Singapore, with Malaysia, with Thailand, with Myanmar,
Right.
all that, if you have an ecosystem over there, then there are economic opportunities that can also be exploited apart from tourism in that.
It will be like a Bay of Bengal community in
Yeah.
some senses. Like there was an initiative sometime, they're so theoretically spoken about, but hasn't really got translated. But coming back to the military aspect of it, how does China, given its outreach or its efforts to come more and more into Indian Ocean and these areas, how do you see them coming into the Andaman Seas or even the Bay of Bengal, and how should India counter that kind of presence? Because their submarines are probably lurking around quite a bit.
So if you look at the geography of China and India, we are unique, in a sense that we share a common border, but from a maritime standpoint, we are distant nations.
Right.
If you're using Malacca, you're 4,000 nautical miles apart. If you're using Sunda, it goes up to 4,500. If you're using Lombok, 5,000. If you're using Mumbai Batar, 6,500 miles. So these distances are enormous. With these enormous distances, it becomes very difficult for China to sustain themselves over here for long durations. So one issue they have to require is they have to look at some degree of basing and some sort of support they can get in this region.
Correct.
Djibouti is the first step. They're looking at other countries, and I'm sure by and by as time elapses, other options will emerge for them in which they can sort of. So in that sense, for them, it is complex to be over here. I mean, even though they might have a large force, to use that force at distant nations becomes difficult for them. So from a military standpoint, I would say if we fortify and if we increase the asset base that we have in the Andamans, you can increase the degree of complexity that they have over here.
The challenges for them will be increasing. Yeah. So although they've tried to get Chakfu in Myanmar, even something in Bangladesh, and then in Sri Lanka, India's advantage, and when it's been described as that unsinkable aircraft carrier ANC, but that I don't know whether that should be the
and firstly, when you look at these advantages, if you say China's of course trying to get more options, so you look at Chakfu, they've got the oil and gas pipeline that is going across into to Kunming from there, and they're looking at Bangladesh also and things like that. But I would say we are misreading that China has a Malacca dilemma. It's not a Malacca dilemma. China has an Indian Ocean dilemma.
That's right.
Because to operate in the Indian Ocean is difficult for them in a contested environment.
Sure.
Otherwise, of course, it's
in a benign environment, there's
yeah.
nothing to really worry about.
So with the Andamans that you have over there, your ability to dominate, let's say, the Andaman Sea. I mean, you've got. Firstly, if you take 4 air stations, you've got Shivpur to the north.
Right.
You've got in Srivijayapuram, you've got a large airfield over there. You've got Car Nicobar, and you've got Campbell Bay.
Absolutely.
So with 4 airfields plus all the marine assets over there, I mean, this to dominate this a small sea like the Andaman Sea is quite easy.
Exactly.
So in that sense, I don't think these new corridors give them any strategic relief. They might have economic benefits.
Sure.
But if you're saying that, this is going to give you more options in terms of in a contested environment, I would not go by that.
No, that's what. So it's good to know this from a naval person and a naval strategist, because normally what is happening is every time we talk about the Malacca dilemma or the Chinese larger presence in Indian Ocean, we seem to think that they have the advantage, whereas actually geographically India has the advantage.
It's huge, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So one final thought on this, that people have spoken about it. I think some of the retired folks, veterans, that if there is too much pressure on the northern borders, on the land borders, China puts, one can use the ANC or even the Indian Ocean dilemma that you just spoke about as a relief point, or pressure can be released from here. Does that work in any military theory?
Yeah, I would say that when China, like any sort of mature, sensible nation, when they engage in any form of contestation, you always carry out a cost-benefit analysis. And if their dependency on this ocean remains high in terms of both, in terms of their access to resources and in terms of providing finished goods to their markets, and plus transit to further areas, if you're looking at through the Suez Canal and going beyond, etc. That dependency for a nation like China, which is the largest trading nation in the world and has got close to $6 trillion worth of merchandise trade. That dependency is always going to remain. And if you have an ability to, in whatever way, to disrupt this, trade after all is a well-oiled machine.
Absolutely.
You put a spoke into
it's
that.
A little bit spoke also.
Yeah, it has multiple rippling effects that, of course, where there are many people who will get impacted, but China will get most impacted in that.
Absolutely.
So in this sort of a setup, every nation sort of calculates cost and sees. And I think it can be used as a pressure point that if push came to shove and things went beyond a certain point, this is an instrument that can always be brought into play in a calibrated sort of manner, so that you can moderate the conduct of activities that are going on in a different sector.
So I suppose the military planners, the government will have to give more attention. We are coming up with 25 years of ANC, I think, next year. So I think this is the right time to recalibrate and think of more development and maybe more additional assets in that area. But good to know that India has that advantage and can be used whenever required. Thanks for your insights.
Thanks so much, Nitin. Great to be here.
Same here. Thank you. Keep watching Bharat Shakti. You know where to reach us. You know our social media handles, and of course your comments are important. So keep them coming as far as our YouTube channel is concerned. For the time being, it's goodbye.